Hiya, hiya. On this occasion, is in September of the year 2020. We lost a very dear friend. I lost one of my best friends, Tommy DeVito, of the Four Seasons, and he passed away from the COVID virus, COVID-19. He was an interesting young man when I met him, and I think we all became very good friends when he had decided that he was going to put this group on the map with Bob Crewe called the Four Seasons. Now, you know, in the Jersey Boys show, if you've seen it on the screen or on the Broadway stage, there's a lot of dialogue written in there. It was written very well, and it says, you know, if it weren't for me, there wouldn't be a Four Seasons. You know, each one of those guys takes the shot at saying that. The truth of the matter is that there wouldn't be anybody. Hello, we're getting your feedback now. And everybody seems to be moving, you guys. You're on camera. The thing that happened with Bob Crewe was he was a producer, and he had a recording session, and the background singers were these guys who also had a song that Bob Gaudio, who was the youngest member of the group, he was a young kid who played keyboard, he had written, and they decided that they were going to throw the sing in the session with a very simple rhythm background and a board on the ground and
stomping,
making the sound that was sherry.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at the recording session, and that's when I first met Tommy. Now, I didn't know Tommy before that, but I certainly knew about his background, and Bob had always tried to get them to do something for his other acts in the studio, and finally they did something for themselves, and I thought it was great. So, not my judgment was not what made it. It was a guy named Matthew Reed who became the disco queen. He was the king of disco. He decided to come. He was from Connecticut, and I was on the air in Connecticut. He decided to come to visit me, and he brought two acetate copies from that session, which means that it wasn't mastered yet. It hadn't become a record yet. It was just two acetates made in the studio that evening for checking so that you could figure out how you were going to master it in the finished product. But, you know, Bob Crewe was such a brilliant guy, and he held it true to form. It was a very natural sound, and, of course, you know the rest. I played the record for 4 hours, and the program director was Morton Downey Jr., so, you know, he was crazier than I am. And we all got in trouble, and the police came, and the record took off like a big hit, and it became one on all of the trade sheets and regionally, and it became a big smash. Tommy was the guy that was really the glue in the group. Now, a lot of people don't know that, but he was the one that used to schmooze Bob Crewe, because Bob was always interested in someone that he was interested in who had a bigger name at the time. And he was recording different artists who were featured artists with big productions. But Tommy never gave up, and he said, hey, you know, let's give us a shot with this, let's do that. And then Tommy eventually became, he was like the gatekeeper for everything. Now, a lot of people don't know that. Mm-hmm. He was the guy behind the Four Seasons that kept them together. And on a sidebar, he was friends with Joe Pesci, who kept wanting to be in the group, but Tommy kept him out because he didn't think he was going to fit in with that. And of course, you know, Joe always wanted to be a big singing star anyway, and he does have a singing talent, but a standard singing talent. So now we go on. Tommy DeVito. All right, what did he do? Well, he made deals, and he was a deal maker. Now on the screen you see a couple of people. Jay Sorensen's here, and also Shotgun Tom and Art Vuolo, who are good friends. Art is radio's best friend, and Shotgun Tom is satellite's best friend. So, you know, you got the best friends who speak to each other, actually. Mm-hmm. Isn't that unusual?
Yeah.
And then you got Jay Sorensen, who's one of my best friends. But we don't have radio and satellite. We just have each other, so you can ignore pretty much what we're saying here except for our internet connection. We're on the Facebook and on YouTube, but we like that. We like that. I just think that, you know, after this country is going to go into a certain new phase. I'm going to get to Tommy DeVito in a second with these guys, but we're going to go to a new phase because we're going to we're going to be up Schitt's Creek. And you know, not only are we going to win an Emmy Award, we're going to win the award of the century. And how come you can have Schitt's Creek as the #1 show, winning all these Emmys, and they can't say shit
on broadcast television, yeah,
or satellite? They don't want to say it on XM. They don't want to say it on television, but everybody knows it's a bunch of shit to not be able to say it. So I tell them to go fuck themselves because you know what's the difference?
amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I mean, the language is just—it's ridiculous. And then, you know, we have become so low rent with everything. Well, when I was on the air and I was playing records, we were raising the bar, and the music bar was very high. I mean, you had to really have a good record to make a hit. Now, these guys all on the screen have been involved in making hit records and hit shows, one way or another. Personalities, making great progress for radio stations, made a lot of money for people, and we're all on this. And the reason I asked these guys to be together is because I wanted to share with them. They know my life and I know theirs, and we're all really good friends. It's Art's birthday's coming up. Happy birthday, Art! And
thank you.
And Shotgun Tom is on the radio. You can catch him on Satellite Live on the 60s channel. He's on
60s on 6.
Yeah, and he's one of my favorite people in the world, and also a great disc jockey.
I'm on right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
A great talent. Oh, I hope not with my.
And I talk about you next hour.
Uh-oh.
I talk about Art Vuolo.
You better edit. You better edit some of this.
Really?
No, I talked, and by the way, Joey, I talk about just what you talked about, how we met Tommy DeVito in Las Vegas, Art, and myself. And I ran a bio on you, by the way, WKBW for some of the folks who listen to you in Buffalo, and, of course, WOR for you folks who listen to Joey Reynolds in New York City. And, of course, I said some very nice things about radio's best friend, Art Vuolo. But I talked about, and this is going to be at 8:22 Eastern Time on my show tonight.
Okay. Oh, good.
So it's
Okay.
going to be
About an hour and 22 minutes. Yeah, an hour and 20 minutes.
So, and I tell the story on how we sat there and watched Tommy DeVito tell those wonderful stories.
Wow.
And that, believe me, Joey, that is a night that I will never forget. Thank you for that.
I hope we'll be done by 8:22.
What's that?
I said, I hope we'll be done by 8:22. I was making a little bet with myself as to, will anybody use the F word tonight? And I thought if anybody was going to do it, it'd be my buddy Shotgun Tom. Even though we figure he loves that word, but no, it was Joey, the nice Catholic boy from Western New York, from the Niagara.
Well, because I think it's time that we really acknowledge the fact that the words that we don't use are the best words, and the ones that we do use should go away. No. This is the time of liars, and when you have everybody lying, you don't know who to trust. That's the Johnny Carson show. Who do you trust? That was a great name. You don't know who to trust anymore because these guys are like in a dogfight. They're so hungry to have power and to be in position. It's disgusting. It really is. It's the worst kind of a country to represent. I would not want anybody to see the way we've been behaving this year. This is awful. Instead of working on helping each other and being in a place where we really need to take care of each other, never mind all the politics. We need to take care of each other, and we need to be concerned about each other's feelings and about each other's welfare and well-being, and it's not going to happen top down. And I know I'm giving a little speech here, but see, Tommy DeVito and I want to tell you, go back to him now. I love him because he was honest. He went to jail, and he served time because he was counterfeiting money. Mm. And the reason was because he was a real Gavone from New Jersey. And I say that with great respect. I used to go to his men's club where all these Italian guys would sit around and we would smoke those Italian crooks. So I stopped going there. I said, I don't want to go there anymore because you got too many crooks. And Tommy used to say, be careful. Get in trouble with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that he was in a crowd of people who did all of these things since childhood. you know, robbing hubcaps and
with his brother Nick. That he was in the band at one time.
Yeah, and you know, the dark side of all of this is what led to the light.
Yeah,
because Tommy came out of that jail, and he became Joe Pesci's driver. Joe had become a movie star and hired him to drive his car for him.
Wow.
See, this is people helping each other. Joe has a special needs child, which a lot of people would never know. He's a sensitive, kind man. And at the 80th birthday party of Tommy DeVito, which I attended years ago now, he died just now at 92.
Yeah.
So when he was 80, I went to the party, and Joe Pesci was there, and I did not know that Joe was the person who had such a great sensitive being. You know, see, underneath it all, this is a routine. This is show business. And Tommy DeVito used to laugh at me because he thought I was so full of crap. And he told me that. He says, you know, you're full of crap. And that's what makes you interesting. He says, if you weren't full of crap, you'd be duller than crap.
we can all agree on that one, right, guys?
Yeah.
And I just realized, Joey, you know that of the 5 of us on this screen, 4 out of the 5 have done time in New Jersey.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, you know, we have something to talk about with Art. Art, I always wanted you to. I love Art because he does the best videos. Yeah. And Art's sensitive, wonderful guy. He and I argue about everything all the time. This is just
our arguments are legendary. They're legendary.
People ask for it. They ask for my cheesecake and an argument. So Art takes videos, which he's been doing since the beginning, of all of the radio people in history that when he came into the game in the early 60s, of wanting to take videos. He had one of the first cameras, you know. Mm-hmm. And so Art has a collection that's amazing, and he has everybody journaled. We could all go to jail from what Art has on those videos.
I used to say that. I said, I have enough video to put everybody in this industry behind bars. And I don't mean they serve liquor, okay? So.
And Shotgun Tom, now, I wanted you to meet Tommy. So we were in Vegas, where Tommy lives. And I said, you guys were busy. Remember, we were at the Consumer Electronics Show. You don't want to take time out to go off campus and to go to Henderson, Nevada, which is out of the way. And we went over there, and we went to this other casino where Tommy plays poker. That's all.
Where was that, Joey? It was a restaurant inside of a casino.
Yeah.
Do you remember which casino?
I just forgot the name of it.
I know we had to drive in the car for a while.
Yeah, was it? I think was it Sunset Station? Was that what it was, Joey?
Yeah, yeah. And we went in there, and Tommy was playing poker, and then he came over and had some food with us. But you know, I always wanted you guys to meet for a couple of reasons. First of all, Shotgun Tom is one of the best disc jockeys in history, and he should really know the real Tommy DeVito, the real Four Seasons, because it's my theme song, and they became so legendary. And I got left out of Jersey Boys, and we always rag. I mean, they always rag on me about it. So I said, okay, I want you to meet the real guy, because everybody knows Frankie Valli's a great star, and he's on stage, and he still works, and he's wonderful. But I want you to meet the real guy. This is the real Jersey boy. And so I brought Art and Tom, and we went and we sat down with him. And also we had another friend with us, remember? We had Bill, what's his name? I introduced Bill to him. Gardner. Remember Bill Gardner?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Bill was there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're all radio and records people. And we wanted to...
Bill, for the audience that doesn't know, Bill Gardner is now a pilot based in Las Vegas, but he was a DJ on a number of radio stations along with his two brothers, Al Gardner and Andre. Of the three of them, Andre is the only one still on the air as a disc jockey or radio personality on WMGK, the classic rock station in Philadelphia.
And he learned everything he knows from me. Thank you.
That's the voice of Jay Sorensen. Now, you know, Jay, you should have been there with us.
I would love to have been, because
But, you know,
I did speak with him on the phone a few times when we were supposed to have Tommy on our show in New York on WABC. It wasn't meant to be. I think it didn't time out right or something.
all right, well, let me, I want to, if you don't mind, I'd like to share a Tommy DeVito story.
Sure,
I hope you
go
don't
ahead.
mind. Okay. This is the best story I could tell you. There's two of them. This one here, he carried all of the money from the engagements. Now, I knew that because I was on the road with them.
Mhm.
And what they did, I didn't never take payola for playing records, but I did get money every year to go on the road with them for a week or two if I could squeeze it in. And they paid me to be the MC. So this way they could pay me and give me some money. And I was legally working for them.
Yeah.
And it was all arranged through Frankie and Bob and everybody and all the guys. So they always traveled on an airplane. The rest of us are on a bus. Now, you know, the reason is because we were the grunts, you know,
Yeah.
and it was at that time Bobby Goldsboro, the Chiffons, Jimmy Soul. We all were on a bus. And when we went to the a hotel in Asbury Park, which was called the Ritz-Carlton.
No,
Right
it's the Berkeley Carteret Hotel.
Berkeley
That's what it
Carteret, well, something like that. I mean, I remember two names that I would never remember, and I guess I didn't. So right across the street from the Opera House, and around the corner from the Stone Pony where Bruce Springsteen eventually worked.
Yep.
But in these earlier days, they have a pool in the front of the hotel, not in the back, but you can see it from the street. And they did not like us to be there because we have black people with us.
Mm.
And that was not going to fly with that hotel. They were not going to let us have anybody. Jimmy Soul had a do-rag. The Chiffons are obviously black ladies, and they were dressed casually. There were a couple others. I forgot who the other players were. They were not necessarily black, but they didn't want us there. And they didn't want to tell us why, because you can't do that. But we knew why. So Tommy went in there, and Tommy had an attaché case, and he kept the money in it, cash, from the other appearances that we had. He always had cash. And he opened the case when we went in to talk to the manager of the hotel, and there was a gun on top of the money. And so he said, we're going to stay here. And he says, well, no, sir. He says, money talks, but so does this. And this is a louder voice.
Wow.
We stayed at that hotel.
Dude.
And they were not real happy. They were happy. They were happy at checkout time. But that's the story that never gets told. And even Clint Eastwood probably doesn't know that story.
No.
You know, he made a dark story with the Jersey Boys, which on Broadway is a musical and fun. But in the movies, it's kind of like, it's a drama. That's what Clint does. He's a beautiful director.
Well, Frankie didn't like it. Frankie Valli did not like the film. He did not like the way it was depicted. He didn't.
Well, everybody's got their opinion of it. I don't like it because I'm not in it.
Yeah, I know.
And
I don't like it because you weren't in it.
Yeah,
either.
Right.
Well, I had a big part of the story, and everybody always has these stories they tell, and they come out of nowhere. And I'm saying, wait a minute, I was the guy that did this, and it's even in the movie, but I don't get credit for it. Now, the only reason I wanted credit is because I would like to have, it's good for being on the air. Then people.
Hey, who played you in that movie?
Oh.
Well, let me start with this. When it was first opened in San Diego, did you know that?
I know, that's where I saw it.
At the Del Coronado. At the Coronet. Is it Del Coronado? Is that where it is?
Hotel Del Coronado. There's theaters over there.
Yeah, so that's where that thing opened as a tryout. It was supposed to be a CBS movie of the week. It wasn't going to be a Broadway show until the people who wrote the Broadway show decided that it was going to be a Broadway show. And it had that kind of texture. And they were right about it, and it's great. But they opened it as a little experiment, and because some people played multiple roles, the black guy played me, ironically, as the guy who played the record, and then he had another part in the play. But when it got on Broadway, we laughed because I was there at opening night, and I'm the black guy, or the black guy was me. And now, whenever anybody says something about the black issue, I always say, no problem. I'm a Negro. You can forget it. You know.
I always knew you had soul.
I got a lot of soul. Jimmy Soul.
Yeah.
Well, see, I don't. The color thing is in our business, as you well know. We live off of this. This music was our music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't have anything to do with color. Really didn't, except for the message songs. You know, like Amen and things that were after. They really were against Vietnam, not against racial issues. But we knew there was a racial issue.
Joey, in the movie, it was a character actor that played you in the movie. I can't think of his name now, but I've seen him in dozens of things. I wanted to say it was Jesse somebody, but I don't know for sure. And then the call letters on the microphone, which were clearly visible, they didn't use the WPOP call letters either. Maybe the radio station, they maybe asked them and they didn't want to be a part of it. I don't know. They're trying to live that down. I don't know what the reason was. But they should have had POP on the microphone, and they should have had somebody that at least looked like you and said they were you, because I believe you told me that after you got screwed out of the play on Broadway, that Clint Eastwood had promised you he wouldn't screw you out of the movie, and he did.
No. So, Frankie went to bat for me directly with Clint.
Yes. Yeah.
And he did, and he said that too. He says it all the time. Frankie and I are good friends. I love Frankie, but you know, Frankie's a star. And Tommy DeVito was a businessman. He played lead guitar and he had a deep voice, but he was really the businessman. I said there's the two stories. I want to tell you the other one about Tommy. We were always late for everything.
You think?
And you even heard, if you listen to the thing I did with Dale Parsons today, I was even late with the president of the NBC
Big
radio. I mean, at the Friars Club. I had a bad habit of not being on time.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing a lot.
We're late for your own show many times.
That's right. So now the Four Seasons were always late. So Tommy put his foot down. He says, "Okay, we're going to be on time. We're at Ohio University. It's a paid gig. We got our money in front. It's Saturday, 7:30. I want everybody there for rehearsal at noon, and we all got to be there, and we should leave on Friday." So, boy, he put this thing together, and he demanded that he was going to have this be on time, and we're going to be early, and everybody's going to shine. We were there a week early. It was the wrong Saturday.
Oh, man.
Tommy had the date wrong. But everything that he did was he knew what he had.
Yeah.
He knew what he had with these guys. And he was such a driver. You know, they used to argue over what tie they're going to wear and what color jackets and what suits. But he was really the guy that did that. That's why I'm saying all this.
And Joey, you know, he was responsible, if my memory is correct, for the vocal arrangements on the Four Seasons records until he was gone from the group. He was the one, they called it open harmony. And it's a very hard thing to do. If you listen to the especially early Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons songs, when they were just the Four Seasons, you can tell that their harmonies were spectacular, and that's an undersung kind of thing that Tommy DeVito should be praised for as well.
So now, when we all went there with Shotgun, and Shotgun sat there and took pictures too, like always, and Art was there with his camera and you know, the videos, and we took a lot of photos, but we actually pulled out some album covers and things from the past. But it was a nice visit, and I thought that Tommy and the two Toms, Tom, Shotgun Tom, and Tommy DeVito had very good conversations about the nuts and bolts of the group, you know, and it was revealing. You know, that's what I liked about Tommy. He was a straight shooter. He'd tell you right out. Did you get anything out of him that you would like to talk about, Tom? Shotgun?
Well, I just, you know, of course I was interested in, you know, they're on the road and the stories that he had to tell about that. He was a little bit troubled with the, I guess some of the residuals or something that he was supposed to get or something like that.
Yeah, he was
talked
right.
A little bit about that. He didn't really linger on it, but you know, it was just interesting being with him. And now he was he was in his late 80s at that time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's
So
92.
after I met him, I would go see a Four Seasons poster or album cover, and I'm going, there he is. I met that guy. I met that guy with Joey Reynolds, and it was, it was really great, to see. And, the conversation that you and Tommy had, I just sat there like somebody on a fly on the wall, I guess, listening to the way you and Tommy were talking. So that, if I have anything to add, you brought a lot out of Tommy DeVito because he trusted you. He really didn't know who I was. I was just a friend of Joey Reynolds, and
no, he knew who you were.
Did he?
He knew who you were. Oh, come on! You were on K-Earth in L.A.
Wow.
And you were on a Top Jock in San Diego and on television doing the telethons. He knew who you were.
Yeah, but he's an East Coast guy.
No, wait, don't slight yourself. He knew who you were.
I'm trying to get out of self here.
Okay, well, get out of self on another program.
Okay.
This one here is celebrating you, and you have a great history, and I thought that the two of you together, since you had done, you're best of friends with Stevie Wonder for one thing. You could do the same kind of thing if you brought Stevie Wonder out.
And his brother Milton, yeah.
So you have that kind of a relationship with Stevie like I have with Tommy. We all have our friends. Art Vuolo, he has a pretty good relationship with everybody but himself.
Oh, now wait a minute. Oh, look, now we got his attention.
No, wait, can I show a picture? Wait. Oh, jeez.
I'm going to show a picture.
Well,
we're looking, Art.
We're getting old here.
He's an animator.
While we're young.
Are you still there, Art? Did we lose you? I think he froze in time.
Well, I just, that just stuck in my Vegas trip, to see him, that restaurant. It just sticks out in my mind. And as I said, I always go to, when I see an album cover, I say, hey, I met that guy,
Yeah. Well, there are some people who are very, very, they're very animated and very, very sharp on remembering details about certain things. And Joey brings that out of people when he has conversations with them.
Well, Tommy was very low key. He never bragged about anything, and he kept a lot of things secret because he knew a lot of things about a lot of people. And once you go to jail, you better learn to go like this, which I've never learned. But I'll tell you something that we had the opening of Reynolds at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. And Reynolds is a famous restaurant in New York. It's a celebrity call. And even Frankie Valli and Bobby Gaudio frequented the place, and The Sopranos. Frankie was on The Sopranos. And David Chase, who wrote The Sopranos, and Michael Imperioli and Vinny Pastore, all those guys all hung around Reynolds. Everybody was at Reynolds. It was a big celebrity place. And they decided to open a restaurant and have those famous meatballs in Las Vegas at Caesar's Palace. They rented the room downstairs with, this big space. And they replicated the Harlem restaurant on the outside. They built a set. It looks just like it. And then you go inside. When we had the opening night at Rayos on the red carpet, we had the red carpet. I invited a lot of people to come to the thing. And the guy who showed up and was the easiest one there was Tommy DeVito. He came in and he was gracious. We had television crews there, for the opening night. And he was just couldn't be more cooperative. He was always there. Good friend.
Yeah. Well,
so Art, what did you get out of this?
Yes, Art.
Well, I lost.
Why are we losing the signal with him?
I don't know.
You might have two devices on at once. Maybe.
Do you have two on at once?
It went off, so it's technology. I'm sorry. Whatever you said in the last 2 or 3 minutes, I did not hear. I was not connected in. I don't know what happened.
Okay. So I was saying, what happened? What was your take on Tommy DeVito? What did you get out of that? You came and you visited with us.
Well, you mean the night at the casino? Or
that night, yes.
Yeah, well, I like all of us. I enjoyed listening to the great stories, and enjoying some beverages and pizza and. I mean, the man he's like you. He's been around so long, and that's what I love. People are going to be talking about this on the news, perhaps tomorrow, and they will talk to all the wrong people.
Yep.
They're not going to call you. That would make too much sense, and they're not going to.
They've already messed up on the bios. They're calling them a doo-wop group.
Oh, yes. I saw that.
Yeah. They're calling them a doo-wop group, and that is a slap in the face to the Four Seasons and their incredible heritage.
Yeah, that was wrong.
Yeah, but that's like how many people get called shock jocks. I mean, Joey's been called a shock jock. He hasn't done shock radio in, 30, 40 years.
Ago.
Yeah. But,
the shock would be if I go back on the radio now.
Yeah. Somebody finally gave you the time of day. The business is in such bad shape. I hate to admit that I love radio passionately, but at the same time, it's not. And I don't want to sound like I'm living in the past, but right now I'm involved with playing back Heritage Michigan football games to keep the fans happy until they start playing football a month from now. And I tell people it's going to be on this Sunday or this Saturday at noon on this radio station in Detroit, 97.1. I said, I'll be sure to watch. I said, no. It's going to be on radio. And they go, radio? And I go, yeah. Use your imagination. You have to. They can't even relate to radio. I go to people's homes. Do you have a radio? They don't have a radio. They have a television in every room of the house.
You have a radio. Well, you have a radio in every room of your house. So I mean,
I do. I have 40. I know 46 radios in my house, which is obscene. But I'm an anomaly. I'm not a normal person.
Very good.
No, you're not an anomaly. You're Italian.
Yeah.
And the Volos. Do you like the Volos? I mean, those three kids that sing with that name of yours.
Oh, now you froze up again.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
All right, now the Tommy DeVito. Back to that again, so that we put this back in order. Tommy DeVito liked to play poker, and I think what happened. Now I haven't. His daughter didn't tell me this, but I think what happened was Tommy would always. Didn't have a lot to do because he enjoyed. First of all, he had a publishing company, which means you still make money off of songs that are being played overseas. And he did have royalties other than the Four Seasons stuff. I'm not talking about that. And he also had a very good collection of Italian songs. And he was going to do an album playing guitar and singing songs in Italian.
Wow.
That's what he was going to do. And he was getting ready to do that. Now, I spoke to him, I think it was before he went to the hospital. And I think what happened was he would go to that casino where we met with him every day. That was his sport, but not to make money. I mean, he wasn't a gambler. He was just killing time, and he liked the game of it, playing cards. He played cards and hung around with the boys. That's what he did in Jersey, too. And so what happened was I think he probably caught it there. That's my thought. And I think he got the virus from probably not wearing a mask, I would say. That's my thought.
Apparently he got pneumonia, and his friend Alfred Natoli, he's the actor, he announced it last night. So that's when everybody found out about it. And,
Well, I have such a great, I see him every year when I go to Vegas for the Consumer Electronics Show.
Yep.
And we always go out and do something. And I miss him. I miss him. I just saw him.
Yeah. Well, rest in peace, Gaetano Tommy DeVito. Rest in peace, brother.
Yeah. And I want to thank Shotgun Tom. It was my pleasure, because Tom is such a good friend, to introduce you to a legend. I thought that would be really cool.
It was a good deal.
Yeah. And if someone with a bigger name comes along, I'll be doing that too.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Joey, I got to tell you, I look forward to your Reynolds raps. I really do. I love your. I mean, you bring up topics that, well, are now, and you bring up topics that maybe some of us can't talk about on the radio. But you talk on these Reynolds raps. You know, you really cut through. And didn't you agree, guys?
Yeah, cuts through the crap.
Don't ever stop doing those. I love them. You teach me a lot of stuff that I didn't know about your little brother.
And you can get those on the late Joey Reynolds on Facebook.
I love it. I just love it.
See, the thing that happens on the digital performance platforms is that they all count how many people are clicking on it.
And how long they're watching.
They have no idea that I don't know what's going to happen, incidentally, to radio and television after the elections, because they're living off of these commercials. I don't know. They must think they're doing well. I saw. I don't know. I mean, there's so many commercials now. When they started selling cars, they used to have a commercial for the car. Remember that? And then you would watch the show, and then they'd have another commercial. Now they put the car commercials together, competing cars.
Yep.
And I think they're going to do that with Trump and Biden, to put them together now.
Of course they will.
Mean, they'll double spot.
Yeah.
Anything to make money.
It's a twin spin.
If anybody ever realized what changed in America, it's nothing. It's nothing.
That's for another time. That's for another time.
We've gotten into money being the reason why everybody does everything. When we started, we did it because we liked it, and you would hope to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Like Art Vuolo, who got very rich off of his video.
Very rich. Oh, a lavish lifestyle. Lavish. Yeah.
And
is he frozen again?
Yes, I think he's frozen.
Okay. And it's a good thing he's not listening to this. He'd be screaming at me. So Art's got. They gave him a room, not at the Marriott, but over at the Radio Hall of Fame in Chicago. They built a room for all of his treasures. Now, Dick Clark had the video version of everybody's performance of the rock and roll artists throughout history. And anytime anyone wants to pull a performance like the Supremes or anybody at all from the past, they would have to go to Dick Clark Company and rent it maybe. But, Art Vuolo freely has all of this video of every radio performance since Dirt, since the beginning.
Yeah, it's great.
And so I want to thank you for being with us tonight, today. And Shotgun Tom, thank you for the nice compliment about the Reynolds raps. I appreciate that.
Well, don't forget, I'm going to be talking next hour. And I just looked on my log here. It's going to be more like about 8:19. 8:19. Yeah.
All right. And
it's going to be after Sounds of Sounds of Silence. When you hear the Sounds of Silence, you'll hear my jingle and you'll hear me talking about Joey Reynolds.
In radio, the Sounds of Silence is called Dead Air.
That's right. I don't think,
and which never happens on the Joey Reynolds show.
Oh
ever.
No, of course not. It's just murdered.
Well, thank you, Joey, for giving me content.
And you too, Art. We only got a little bites of you, but you didn't hear all these wonderful things we were saying about you.
Well, because it kept dropping out. I don't know why. It just dropped out.
I know. It's the way I was in school.
And there's nothing on my screen except a little button that says leave. And there's no button that says reconnect. There's no button that says rejoin. It just said leave. I didn't
Maybe
want to leave.
somebody's trying to tell you something.
Yeah, you're the only guy that ever got up in the middle of a broadcast and let the screen blank.
I had mine ready.
I know.
Put a sign up just like he did. I said I'll be right back.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do things differently, and I'd say the word that describes it best is depends.
Let's say goodbye, Joey.
Get one of those pads. They're selling tampons. They sell tampons on television. You ever think you would hear that on TV? Right? And they got all this.
They show the liquid. It's like, please.
Hey, and they're also selling if you pee your pants for women and for men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Listen, after the urinary problems I've been faced with, let's not talk about that stuff. All right.
Wait a minute. One more thing, just going to really drive you nuts. I think they're talking about catheters. They sell catheters.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's because
Art's going nuts. Oh, and so is Jay. Look at Jay. These guys' peepees are hurting.
Yesterday morning, you know where they shoved the camera? Right up. Yeah, you know where.
Oh, now you're getting vulgar without a punchline. You got to have a punchline. Watch Bob and Tom. You'll get it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the punchline. I told the doctor and the nurse, I said, as they were putting the camera in, I said, this violates the penal code. I'll say, there's the punchline.
Yeah. Good line. That's a good line.
Continue to laughter.
That works.
And there's another way to describe this nation after Schitt's Creek. It's piss on it. It's called urination. See you later. We got it all out. It's a lower GI broadcast.
I got to go to the 60s on 6 at 22 after
Yeah, it's going to be at 8:19. 8:19. After the sounds of silence.
With a smile over your umbrella, don't get a mouthful of rain.
All right.